Hello everybody. I'm waiting for Barrister Evans to come on live. Thank you guys for coming to join me, my friends from Facebook, Pastor Onome Poto. Thank you for coming. So I'm just waiting for, I think this will be better. Ufunaya, thank you. Cheyenne Reed, thank you. So I'm going to have a talk with Barrister Evans Ufeli of Cadrell Advocacy. You know, we're going to talk about the killings and the rapes. The killings and the rapes of Nigerian women and young girls and even children, you know. And it's becoming too much. These killings from the police, you know, and our youth today, every other day, it's one story or the other. And we keep, you know, protesting, doing hashtags. And we wonder when, you know, things will change. Like, are there reforms? Because if there are reforms, we're not seeing the reforms. So I'm just waiting to see Barrister Evans join us and let me know that he has joined us. So he needs to come on my live so I can invite him. So anyways, last week was really very sad. You know, a young girl, Tina Ezekwe, who was standing at a bus stop, according to the story, was killed by two Nigerian cops, two Nigerian policemen. You know, she was preparing for her SSC, a girl with her hopes and dreams ahead of her. Everything gone. Her life, you know, everything gone. So that is just so sad. That should not be the story of anybody. You know, we should not like sweep these things under the carpet. We should not keep quiet when these things happen. We should use our voices and we should talk about them. And then today we just heard something that, you know, was just so unfortunate, so terrible. You know, Uwa murdered right in church, raped and murdered. This should not even happen. You know, you hear people always justifying rape, you know, apologizing for, oh, she wore this, oh, she wore that, but every single day. Most times we hear of rapes of children, of women in their houses. You know, is there anywhere safe for the Nigerian women? Barrister Evans, thank you for joining us. We are talking with Barrister Evans from Cadrell Advocacy. Thank you for joining us. You know, I have seen your posts on this issue. So I don't know if you can tell us what's happening on Tina's issue. You know, I know you are involved somehow. Can we know what really happened? How did Tina get killed?
Yes, on the Tina's case, it's quite an unfortunate one because the police acted in a way they shouldn't have, because in Lagos, across, and then it happened that particular day that she was at a bus stop, that the Woroshoki bus stop, before you just head to the Third Mainland Bridge, the beggar area.
Yes.
Selling, you know, items for the mother and all that. When the policemen were, you know, trying to extort money from bus drivers who they said have broken the lockdown order and all that. So as a result of that, they intercepted one of them and tried to get a 200 naira from the bus driver who reclined and ran away. So they started shooting sporadically.
Oh my God.
You know, and all that. And in doing that,
Is that not crazy?
You know, yeah, actually 2 persons were shot that day. Okay, one survived, but this young girl who was full of life, who, you know, the future is you know, looks bright for her because she's already, if not for the lockdown, she should be writing her work this May, June. Okay, and then she was shot. She was taken to the hospital and she gave up the next day and all that. So I am in contact with all relevant authorities on this issue. I have gone to the place. I have been to every location on this issue in the past 3 days. And I want to assure Nigerians that this cannot go unpunished because we have seen these kind of cases repeatedly all over the place. We have policemen who are unprofessional. They are not good at their job because most of the times they are drunk. Because even this particular policeman, when the brother was interviewed, the brother of the girl, the deceased, was interviewed, King Ezekwe, that's the elder brother, he said that when the policeman was accosted, he was drunk. And
My
all
goodness.
that. So they possibly must have used those weapons under the influence of alcohol and all that.
That's something that, we see policemen walk around in Nigeria with guns, we see them. It's like, is there any requirement for before a policeman has access to carry a weapon? Do they do any tests? Are there years that they should serve in the force? They should check, is there any, checks to make sure that they are responsible enough to carry arms and walk among people?
Well, in the books, there are a lot of checks, okay, in the books, okay? A policeman is supposed to be disciplined because a policeman is expected to maintain law and order in a civil society. A society not at war, a society that is organized in a civil society. They're expected to be disciplined. They're expected to be at the right psychological frame of mind before they are given arms. They're expected to get to a particular ranking, okay? And then the operation for which they are assigned to also will determine whether or not they are going to have guns, okay? Like if you look at the riot going on in the United States, the whole of yesterday, if you are online or watching through CNN and all that, you see that in some states, Minneapolis, the city where it even happened, the policemen who are resisting the arrest, none of them are with firearms. They are just with stick. It's in Chicago and California, some of those places that the policemen are with guns, but they are rubber bullets, okay? But here we have an issue. Sometimes before they are given these arms, they are in their right frame of mind. But when they take up these arms, they go to all these local joints where they sell local root, ogogoro, what they call it, paraga, all the mixed toxic substances and ethanol, chemicals. They consume these things at a very high volume. And when they get out to now take on their constitutional responsibility, they are already way drunk. So to enforce law under the influence of alcohol or under the influence of
it's very difficult.
Imbalances, yes, it's difficult. And then this is not to make a case for them. I actually don't want to make a case for them, except for the fact that I have to answer the question.
Yes.
Because the underlying principle is that they have to be disciplined. The issue of professional negligence is one of the very issues that must be addressed in the Nigerian police. We want to ask ourselves what exactly is going on. In the last 3 days, I'm almost losing my mind in the last 3 days.
So,
I need to talk about this.
It's. I've been seeing your post on social media, on Facebook especially. I've been seeing your videos. That's why I said, let me have this talk, because I myself, I have really been affected by, and I can imagine how a lot of Nigerians feel about what has been happening, especially last week. It's been really sad. So let me just ask this question before I talk about what happened today, the news that really shocked, and traumatized a lot of us today. What charges will be brought against the policemen? Like, what are the charges going to be brought against them? What terms are you hoping they will serve? And all that. What's the punishment?
They are going through an orderly trial right now. It's called orderly proceedings, because the police, they have their own internal proceedings. It is when that is completed that they are subjected to a charge is preferred against them. They subject them to the court. They are going to face possibly the charge of manslaughter. Okay, manslaughter because the police may want to say it occurred, it was not intentional, the death was not intentional. What they call third-degree murder in the US. But here it's manslaughter. That is a possible charge, okay? And we should begin to look at a reform to some of our laws, because if you carry firearm in a dwelling environment where people live, and you know that any recklessness or negligence is likely to result to the death of someone, I think it should be outright murder, because a reasonable man's standard by law should be applied, because a reasonable man ought to have known that having a firearm in a densely populated area like Oworoshoki, any negligence of sort is likely to result to the death of citizens, law-abiding citizens and all that. So I think that there's going to be a charge of manslaughter. If they are found guilty, the particular policeman is found guilty, because there are two. If they are found guilty of the offense of manslaughter, then that is what they call involuntary murder. And then that itself is life imprisonment. Okay, that's the penalty is life imprisonment, because it's not murder. Murder is actually death by hanging, if that is the case. But in this case, they are going to be there for as long as possible. And because there's no hangman in Nigeria, there's no execution is not going on right now. Most of the governors of the state are not signing execution warrants, because if they are convicted, though this is life imprisonment anyway, that's the penalty. If it were to be murder that requires execution, most governors also are not signing execution warrants. So the person will just be there for as long as possible, for as long as it takes. There may be possibly a pardon, maybe after some 10, 15 years or 20 years, may take the person out of that place. But I know that this case will not go under the carpet, because we are watching vigilantly. I'm going to be in court throughout the proceedings, and I'm going to announce appearance, watching brief for the complainants. I'm already in touch with the father of the deceased and all that. So this is what I'm going to do throughout. I cannot
imagine how the family feels. I cannot even imagine how her family feels. A young girl with her hopes and dreams ahead of her. Her life just short.
That is a painful thing about our society.
People who should be protecting her.
Yes. That is a painful thing about our society that we must correct as young people in this society. We cannot allow our society to break down irretrievably in the mix of its social, political, and all the structural imbalances that we have. We need to lend our voices to issues like this and make sure that we demand for proper governance, proper structure of security, economy, social cohabitation, welfare, and a whole lot. There are a lot of underlying issues and triggers, remote and immediate causes of this. If you want to dig deep into why these policemen are angry, why they are full of hate, why they are full of wickedness, it goes back to the roots of the kind of lifestyle and the kind of culture we have adopted over the years. Okay, we are no longer a brother's keeper. We're no longer a brother's keeper, and then it's telling on us, it's affecting the way we are turning out, our developmental structure, and the rest of it. It's really putting pressure on our cohabitation.
It's really sad me. Tina, rest in peace. I want to ask a question, Sir Evans, barrister. Yeah. Is there anywhere that a woman is safe? Is there anywhere in the world that a woman is safe?
Well, the question is it's a tough one, because from my experience, from my little, I'm not very old and I'm not too young as well, but from the much I have gathered, I think that every day is becoming increasingly difficult to have safety space for women. all over the world. Because even though I know that there are places in the world that women are reasonably free to a large extent, given that the aggregates of the intellectual awareness and the exposure of the society have made it so largely accommodating and safe for women. And the legislations, the laws, the history, the culture, okay, of some geographical locations in the world have made it really a little bit safe for women in some locations. But when you talk about Nigeria coming home, okay, you see, we have this culture of entitlement that if you are not properly raised, if you are not really strictly raised, a lot of people grow up to believe that an access to a woman's body is, they are entitled to it, no matter how highly placed or lowly placed the woman is. So that is the underlying factor, that women have no right to resist them, okay? So they take advantage of that. They also take advantage of the fact that this society also do not believe in punishing rape offenders, okay?
Let's get to that.
It is unfortunate that the victim in this case, talking about Uwa, died in the process. If she had not been killed, and if she comes out to talk about the fact that she was raped by these guys, there are a lot of persons who will come on social media to tell you that it's a lie, that she wants to get money from these guys, okay? We had the case of one of the celebrities whose wife was, abused at some point by a man of God. The allegations are still hanging. Police say they are still investigating, and all that. So it's a society that have a culture of indiscipline. So when you have a society that have a culture of indiscipline, things like this, they will begin to condone it. They will have an excuse, a space to downplay it. Some other persons will come and ask, how did she dress to the place? Why is she not well covered? Or why is she too covered? Or what was she looking for at that location? Okay, this question has already been asked. I saw on your wall where somebody has made that comment.
Yes, I asked you I asked the question of, is there anywhere a woman can be safe? So we can talk about Uwa or Mozua's rape and subsequent, death from the rape. She was attacked right in church. Right in church. When women say, oh, I went to this man's house and I was raped. I went to my boyfriend's house and I was raped. You hear people on social media saying, even people on the media asking, why did she go there alone? If you know you're not doing anything, why did you go to man's house? Waiting you they find for man's house. How did you dress? Look at waiting she they wear. No wonder they rape her. All those kind of talk. But this lady was in church, reading in church alone. And some attackers came to that same church. We always say, oh, we are a God-fearing society. Nigeria is a God-fearing society, unlike the West, that they do all manner of evil. We fear God. But you can see that this thing has highlighted, it's almost like opening, the truth behind a lot of things. The lack of fear of God, lack of kindness, lack of love, lack of decency, lack of morals that is happening in society. Yes. And it's really troublesome. Naya Nels is asking, how do we change this rape culture? This culture that makes men to believe in Nigeria that, I want to take that, I want that woman and I will get that woman. No matter what once they have it in their brain, that woman is mine. They do all manner of antisocial things to get that woman. Even if it means death, like in the case of Uwa Sadi. How do we change that culture?
The way to change that culture is to take sanction very serious. Sanction. You see, changing that culture will take a lot, because it's going to come right direct from our criminal justice system. We must reform our criminal justice system to have speedy dispensation of trial. Okay? Speedy dispensation of trial. We must also devolve forensic technology. Forensic technology.
Yes.
Yes, we must invest in forensic technology. We must up our medical facility. Are you seeing that development is inclusive?
Then that database, our database of fingerprints and all those things.
Our database, fingerprint, that's tied to forensic. Then our medical solution, because there's going to be medical evidence where they have to, carry out examination on, the victim, and then decipher exactly what has transpired. So we're going to have that. Then we're going to have citizens who will be disciplined enough to report rape cases. We're going to have citizens who will not put stigma on rape victims. We're going to have a lot more of orientation and widespread education, educating society about the socio-cultural and structural defects of rape. Because rape is a heinous crime. When it happens to anyone, it has a way of implanting a lot of psychological disorder in the victim, such that society will, at the long run, suffer for it. So if we are going to change the rape culture, we must also work against communities who assume jurisdiction to hear rape cases. There are a lot of communities, landlord association in the neighborhood, women,
I think Barrister Evans is having some network issues. I'll just be patient. Okay.
Yeah, women who will conceal, issues like this when they find out that a man is raping or making attempts or having to have carnal knowledge with children in different, locations. It has to do. We have a lot to do. Just like we talk every day about the COVID-19 as a pandemic.
Yes.
We should be talking about rape, sexual violence, assault, harassment, domestic violence as a pandemic, because it is a pandemic. It is a bigger pandemic because it affects the human. It affects our collective, structure, our behavioral pattern, and the kind of life we'll turn out to live in the long run is tied to that interpersonal relationship. Discipline, dignity, respect for the other gender is critical. It's important. Like, have you ever seen where men gather to talk about women? If you see where men gather to talk about women, some of us will voice out because we're a little bit different from what the larger society thinks about. A woman walks past and you find men talking, analyzing,
objectifying her,
objectifying her, abusing her, harassing her. Okay, those kind of attitude has to stop, because this thing is tied to our culture in a way that people see women as appendages to men, and that is completely wrong, because women have their own rights as enshrined by law, as equal as the men. Okay. So that culture will change when we begin to look at the aggregates of all these things I've talked about.
But can I say something? I just noticed another thing. Someone, Naya Nails was also, she highlighted it. The issue of people getting uncomfortable talking about rape. You find men, men who are vocal, men who use their platform for all other things, for football, talking about silly issues, I would say silly, on
irrelevant issues. But when rape happens, you find everybody keeping quiet. You find everybody being uncomfortable to talk about it. It's like, let's not talk about it. Oh, that's ugly. Let's not talk about it. But these things happen, and we should not wait for it to happen to our own. You know, you find people saying, oh, what if it happens to your own sisters? No, we must not wait for it to happen to people who we know before we talk about it. Why is it that in our culture, the men are not coming out like women to talk about these issues to the young generation? You see women going to secondary schools, doing talks, organizing talks for girls, and even boys. You hardly find guys going out there actively grooming the younger generation, you know, to be responsible. You are
right. You are right. You see, what men do. Men don't really address the pressing issues of society. Okay? That is why, if you look at the kind of laws we've had, we don't have active laws on sexual offenses because our National Assembly is preoccupied by men. Okay? So that's why we're talking about the affirmative action, that if we have 50-50, 50-50 gender equality or gender contribution in the National Assembly, we're going to churn out more issues that affect women in society. We're going to have more legislation. We're going to have a balance and a better society. But when you have a society that is dominated by men at the National Assembly, and then you have them, they don't talk much about these issues, these emotional, intimate issues, okay? They don't talk much about it. So the same way you don't have them going to schools to talk about it, grooming the younger generation, the same way you don't also have them talking about it in the house. So what do we do about that? We should also look at our political structure, okay? And then some of us who are very much interested in this issue, we should be able to also recruit some people. In my NGO, in our NGO, Cadrell Advocacy Center, we've been able to get so many people involved, even though some of them do not have passion. They are just there for the pay. Some of them who didn't have the passion for this cause before they joined us now have the passion. Even volunteers, okay, because you have to, in a way, affect them with the purpose, okay, and the direction of exactly what we are doing, and let them know about the promises. And when the grants come, we put them at the board. They see the finance themselves. They decide how the finance will be disbursed for our assignment, okay? Like in Cadrell Advocacy Center, for example, I do not sit on finance. I don't sit on finance. There are people who do that. So they know what is involved. They get to work according to what we have, and they get to carry out their function according to what we have. So we have to make sure we keep the work ongoing, okay? We get more boys, talk to boys in the homes, okay? Let them understand what it is that they have just equal rights with the female, with the girls in the house, and they must respect. One of the duties they owe the female gender is respect, okay, and the recognition of her dignity of human person as enshrined by the Constitution. And then by the time they go with this flow, and in the schools too, okay, that's why our educational system must also work in line with that purpose. In the schools too, they should introduce these courses.
This orientation
like civic
and all that.
Civic education, and then this sex education should be well taught. There should be counseling section. There should be a whole lot of broadening of the mind at that level. That is what they did in the Scandinavian countries. As I talk to you now, there's zero crime rate in Iceland. Iceland have zero crime rates. I was listening to the Prime Minister of Iceland last night. What they are battling with now is just for them to be able to curb the COVID-19 issue. Because okay? And if you look at some other Scandinavian countries, because of the decision they took in the 90s, many of the Scandinavian countries are shutting down prisons because there are no inmates in those prisons. They are moving workers from prison authority, correction center to other ministries because crime reduced by almost 64%. So the only criminals you have in those locations are habitual criminals who need psychological evaluation and therapy.
Yes.
Yes.
So with UWA, when the murderers are hopefully apprehended soon, we hope so. You know this issue of what do they call these things? Forensic. I'm not sure. Because they're supposed to go there and get fingerprints and all that, and that's what it's supposed to happen. But I don't know how equipped our police force is for that. So I'm wondering, when the criminals are apprehended, and hopefully soon, what would they be charged for, and what is hopefully the punishment that they will get for this crime?
Yeah, if they are apprehended, they'll be charged for conspiracy first. Yes, they'll be charged for conspiracy to, commit the offense of rape, and then rape itself. Okay. And then if there's going to be any other charge, if in the process of committing the act, they have also encroached on any other known law of the state, those charges will be added, okay, to it. And it's not just going to be them alone, because that church also, I believe they have security. I want to ask, really, where were the security men when this happened? So if they are not on their duty posts, or they were there and they enabled the criminals, they too will be charged as enablers. Okay? Except perhaps they were overpowered, which is unlikely, and all that. We do not know actually what must have transpired. And if there are no security, okay, the church authorities also will be answerable to the fact that they know that people come to the church. They ought to have provided security for them, or for the building, or for their equipment, or for whatever it is. It's supposed to be their duty to provide security. But we do not have that in this case. So there's going to be a lot of questions will be asked to that effect, to that regard. Why didn't we have all the necessary things that are supposed to be put in place in a worship center for the purposes of security of the members, for the purpose of security of those who may want to use the worship center for other purposes, like the disease, did and all that. And then the school authority, the University of Benin, the University of Benin also, if I think during investigation, okay, there's going to be a lot of questioning to find the culprits along that line. So there is going to be a lot of work. But I think the police, they have their own way. Okay, they have their own way here.
I'm sure
also about issues like this.
That they find the apprehended killers. And we saw the statement from the Uniben. That brought me to the statement from Uniben. I don't know how official it is. I don't know how verified it is, but it was from their PRO, where they were saying, advising people, watch the company you keep, and be at the right place at the right time, kind of advice, which doesn't apply to this. And the issue with Nigeria is that there's always the blame and shame is always rests on the victims. And that is why victims hardly want to report rape. The shame, the blame, the questioning, the attacks, the snide comments are always almost on the you hardly find them blaming. Very rare cases do you find them blaming the perpetrators of this crime. You always find them blaming the victims. How is Cadrell Center going to help anybody who has been raped, like in case anybody wants to reach out to you, if they have any rape each case, they want to come and meet you? Do you offer free legal services, or is it advice, or what kind of services do you render to victims of abuse?
Our services on abuse and victims of rape and all that is 100% free. 100% free legal,
Wow.
provision of legal service, okay? Provision of legal service. And we also have an organization that partners with us who also provide free therapy section, post rape event and all that. So it is free, really. They can reach us on our website. Our website is www.cadrellchildrights.com.
Okay.
Cadrellchildrights.com. If you just Google the word Cadrell, Cadrell. Yes, once you Google that, you'll find our website. You see all the solutions there, all the questions, all the whatever it is. Somebody will be at the other end to receive the call and then direct you adequately as to what to do once you have any case of that nature at hand. So that is exactly what we do. We need more of these organizations. We need more volunteers. We need more workers. We need more people to go out there and talk to people about the need, okay, to, respect the other person. The need to not to take the other person for granted.
Yes.
The need to,
It's unacceptable, whether, no matter what the woman wears, no matter whether she was you found her in a club or wherever, in the church, in the booth, wherever, as long as a woman has not given a man permission to touch her, he doesn't have a right to. And even when she gives permission and she retrieves that permission, she takes back her permission and she says no. At the moment she says no, it has to stop. Nobody.
It has to stop. Yes.
It has to stop. It has to stop.
Once she withdraws her consent, then it's over. Whatever is done outside that becomes abuse, becomes harassment. Okay, and then she can press charge to that effect. Okay, and then we need to remind Nigerians also that where you have female children around, in neighborhoods, and you have young men around, and you have old men around, there is a need to be vigilant. I'm not saying old men, young men are all, but most of those children are abused on daily basis.
Yes, they are
most
vulnerable.
Of those children, they are vulnerable, and a lot of women are aware of this, but they will tell you that they don't want to, so that they will not break up the home, or they will not break up the neighborhood, they will not do this and all that. But I think that the time has come for us to change that culture.
I think maybe our next conversation should be about this child abuse and child sexual abuse, because I think that is a whole lot topic on its own. I'm not even sure that it's a wide range of topic. And to be sincere, I think we need to know as adults that we are responsible for the protection of children. People leave their children to roam free, go to people's houses, go to neighbors' houses, trusting everybody. But it should not be so. We must protect our children. And even if the abuse is happening in the home, as adults, we must put a stop to it by withdrawing that child from that environment, and also reporting the criminal so he doesn't commit, attack other children, that kind of thing. So I believe that child sex and abuse issue is it's so wide that we can't even talk about it today, sir.
Yes, it is. It's an issue that requires a full session devoted to it, for the purpose of making it clear, and then giving practical solution or practical guideline of how people can have their children protected. Society is increasingly getting insecure by the day, even in the schools where they attend. The schools where they attend also.
The churches, the schools,
the church, the mosques, everywhere. These institutions, they play a role. Okay, but the purpose of that role can be defeated if the institutions are not also vigilant. Their role to the development of the child can be defeated if they are not vigilant. So the message should also be sent to the schools, to the mosques, to the churches, and to every other institution that contribute to the well-being and growth of a child.
Yes.
So that is what it should be.
So, Barrister Evans of
Yes.
Cadrell Advocacy, it was really nice talking with you. You know, I just feel lighter talking with you. You know, I've been so heavy, and I'm sure a lot of people that have listened today will feel a bit lighter, you know, knowing that, you know, those cops, those killer cops are going to, you know, face the consequences of their actions, you know.